Hello and welcome to this free tutorial on installing DAZ Studio. And I've had a problem recently. I had a motherboard meltdown actually, so I had to go out and purchase a new motherboard or rebuild my system. And I have 3 monitors connected to my system, which hasn't been a problem in the past, but when I loaded DAZ for some reason, it kept looking like it was connecting. It kept doing all the things it's supposed to do, but when it first launched, it launches and then freezes and then just says not responding. And for the life of me, I couldn't figure out why. I checked the forums. I read through all the forums. Some people said that it was a conflict with video cards. Some people said that we're asking how to do a clean install. One person pointed out that there's a file that's included in the install that you need to remove to make it do a clean install. So I actually discovered what the problem was in my particular situation anyway, and it's kind of unique, so I figured I'd just show you what's going on here. So in my system here, I have, as I said, 3 monitors, 1 CPU. And my monitors are numbered as so. And if you right click, and this is a Windows machine obviously, if you right click and select display settings, and then you can see my monitors are numbered 3, 1, 2, and you click identify, you get these numbers in the bottom down corner here. They disappear after a while. You can also do a detect. That's if you connect another display. Obviously it didn't find anything, but again, you can hit identify as many times as you like to see what the sequence of the numbers are. And then in Windows, the idea is that you drag the monitors into the sequence that you're looking at, so the system knows, you know, which is your main monitor and which isn't. Now I got to put this back obviously. So that's what we do for that. Now I'm going to start with an uninstall for DAZ because I want to reinstall it and show you the problem that I had. So we're just going to cancel out of that. So the proper way to uninstall DAZ Studio is to start the DAZ install manager, which is here. So sorry, the install manager loaded on a different screen and I needed to put my password in and log in. So basically here we are. So we're in the DAZ install manager. You can see I've got 4 things installed and I haven't changed any of the default settings. So if we go into our settings and downloads, sorry, not downloads, downloads, we've got C users, public documents, and we've got thumbnail archive. We've got the installation going onto my C disk, which anybody has watched my previous videos knows that I don't want anything loading on my C drive because it's a solid state drive. It's relatively small and I utilize that just for loading programs and software. I don't use it for DAZ content. So I was so frustrated at this installation not working, I figured, okay, well, maybe it's something to do with my installation setup, so let's just use the defaults. It's, you know, something everybody would do. So we're going to get out of here. So what you need to do is you need to go to what is installed and then select all that you want to uninstall, and then click on the uninstall button and it will take it back to the ready to install, and it throws them into the ready to install, and I'm going to remove them from my hard drive because we're going to download them again. So everything's gone now and it's gone back into ready to download. So that's taking care of DAZ Studio. So we're going to close that off. And then we're going to get rid of the DAZ install manager, which you uninstall through here. Now you can either do it through the menu here, uninstall DAZ install manager, or you can do it through the Windows interface as well. Both programs show up in the interface. I'll show you the interface. This is apps. We could do a search for DAZ. It'll show up on the list. And uninstall. And uninstall, yes. So basically what's happening in this case is it's referencing the uninstall program that I just showed you in the list of programs. And uninstall is completed. Disappears from my list of programs. Now, To do a clean install, there's other things that we need to do. And so I'm going to go into my program files using Internet Explorer. I'm going to get to my C drive, which is here. And I'm going to go into, you can check program files. There shouldn't be any DAS folder in here. There should be no DAS at all. You can check also x86 in case there's any 86 or 32-bit programs that you loaded that were plugins. Again, delete all DAS folders. Now this is an absolutely clean install, so I'm going to go back, and after you show hidden file folders, there's a folder that shows up that's called program data. You go in here, you can see there's DAS 3D, and if you go into it, you can see that it has information in here. We want to delete that completely. Continue. So no DAS folders left in here. Again, go back to the root, go into users, go into whatever your username is, into app data and local, and there's going to be a DAS in here sometimes. Let's see, doesn't look like it is this time. Roaming, there should be a DAS, and this is where it stores a lot of the stuff. As you can see, it's the CMS, and install manager, so on and so forth. We're going to get rid of that. And now I've removed all the files from my computer. The only thing that's left is the registry entries. And I have deleted registry entries in the past, and I found that it doesn't really make a whole heck of a lot of difference in a clean install. So I'm not going to go through that at this point. I'm not going to worry about it. So there you go. That system is finished. We're ready to go. I am going to reboot. I always like to reboot after I do things like this. That just cleans things up. And I'll be back with you shortly. All right, so we're back. I've rebooted my computer, and I downloaded the DAS install manager from DAS. As you can see, it's sitting on my desktop here, and we're going to start that. I like to load DAS from the DAS install manager because, as you saw, or I should have pointed out that DAS itself doesn't install with an uninstaller. It doesn't show up in your list of applications. So the only way to install it is either to just go in and delete the program, which is an ugly way to do things these days, or to uninstall it with the DAS install manager. So I always like to install with the DAS install manager so that it knows that it's installed and it knows where it is. And a lot of other programs and plugins that you buy rely on that knowledge. So let's install it as a manager. Accept the agreement, and as you can see, it's installing it into my 64-bit software, so it's going into DAS 3D. So when I uninstall it using DAS, it actually did delete that directory properly. And launch, yes. And you enter your information here. And I like to say, remember me. So here we are with the install manager running. If you've watched any of my other tutorials on how to modify the content management system or the database, you'll know that I always go in and change my default location. So I click on the little gear icon here. I go to downloads, and it says right now it's defaulting to loading the package archives and the thumbnails on my C drive. As I've already mentioned, I don't like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start Internet Explorer for a sec, and I'm going to go into my drives and see which one I have a fair amount of space on, which is my, we'll use the D drive. So I'll go in here and I'll use users, I'll use public documents, and I'll load, let's see, where is it trying to load it to? Public documents, okay. And I'll create the folder here, DAZ 3D, and install manager. And in the install manager, we have downloads, and we have thumbnails. And I think we have another file called manifest files, but we'll look and see. So for the time being, we've got those existing now. I'm going to surf to those locations so that it's not loading on my C drive. And we're going to go to D, users, public, documents, DAZ, install manager, and this one was downloads. Select folder, so you can see everything's identical except it's changed the C to a D. Same thing for the thumbnails. D, users, public, documents, DAZ, install manager, thumbnails, select folder. So that's taking care of the downloads there. We'll go to installation. Oh yeah, there it is, manifest files. So if we go back to here and just add manifest files, oops, no space. And one thing I forgot to delete now, this is public documents, but this is on my C drive. See, on my C drive, if we go into users, public, documents, we still have DAZ 3D in here, so I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to get rid of this, both of these folders. Oh, I can't use my control key to select from here, so we'll do that in just a second. So we're selecting a folder where it's going to go. It's going to go into documents, DAZ, install, manifest files, select folder. That one's taken care of. My 64-bit software will be going onto my C drive. As I said, I'll always load my my software on my C drive. My 32-bit software is going into the x86 folder, which is also fine. My content database is going to C users, my name, app data, roaming. Now that was the one that we deleted before. This is not a particularly large file, so I usually leave it on the C drive. I don't mind this one. But what we do need to do is we need to create a place for our DAZ content to go. Right now, again, it's loading it all on the C drive. And if you have a lot of content with DAZ, that could eat up your C drive really fast if it's a small drive like mine is. So I'm going to go to my D drive and public documents, my DAZ, and create my DAZ 3D library. So we're already halfway there. We'll just back up a little bit. And if you just want to double check what it's doing, I'm at the install manager, which is DAZ 3D. Oops, still not far enough. Documents, and right here we're going to create my DAZ 3D library. And you can't change this directly right now. If you notice, if you click on the three dots to surf to some other place, like up here, it's not going to let you. So what you need to do is you need to add that location first. And you can call it whatever you want. I'm going to call it DAZ content. And then I'm going to set the path, and the path is going to be my D drive, users, public, documents, right there. Accept. So now you see I have, if we bring this out a little bit, this is the default location that comes with the software, with the DAZ install manager. And this is my location that I've chosen. So I'm going to choose, I'm going to select the one that it defaults to, and I'm going to delete it. I'm going to go minus. So now there's only one choice. That's only going to go into DAZ users public documents. It's changed my location. I go into applications, and there's no applications loaded yet, but it's going to be loading them to C drive into program files or program files x86. So yes, that's correct. We can say accept now. So now it's going to put stuff where I want it to be. But DAS is also smart enough that it scans the rest of your system to see if there's any other library that exists. So it's important to go in before you go any further. Remember I said that it still existed on my C drive? Go into my C drive, users, public, documents, and now we can get rid of these two because you can see that although there's nothing in it, it's going to say, hey, I found something else. Do you want to keep that? And no, I do not. So we're just going to get rid of those two right away. And I'm sorry if you hear any thumping. I'm having some roof work done today. So that's fine. So we can get out of there now. To install DAS, it's as simple as scrolling down to find it with the install manager. DAS Studio 4.12 64-bit. I'll use the beta, which is the default, or which is the current release. You are also going to need, I always forget the name of it. It's a weird name, Postgres, something like that. I just searched for it. It's around here. There we go. We're also going to need this. And I usually install this at the same time. And that's all I think we know. There's also this publishing information from publishing partners. Make sure we're installing the right one. No, we want to install this one. And we want to install this one. There we go. And then we're ready to go. It's going to install after downloaded. We're going to start the queue. And I'm just going to pause the video here now while it runs through its install. So all in all, that took maybe 2 minutes. And as you can see, I have two icons on my desktop, DAS Install Manager and DAS Studio. So we are at the point that it typically screws up. This is the point where I usually have problems. So let's try starting DAS Studio and see what happens. So double click it. A new potential content directory has been detected. D users public documents. So yes, we're going to add it. A valid PostSecret CMS connection cannot be established. Several DAS features require PostSQL CMS. Okay. So sure, I'll participate. You can answer the questions. Connect to your DAS account. This is the same login that you used for your DAS Install Manager. Remember me, and I usually automatically log in and connect. And success. And then you get this. This is if you sell content through DAS Studio. It helps for you to identify yourself. So I'm going to put in my publishing name, which is Segan, and my website, which is and next. And okie doke. So we should be all set. I should be able to go in and see the content that I have, which I can. So this is what you would expect DAS Studio to do when it loads properly and you log in. However, this is happening for me only because of two things. First of all, if we do, I'm clicking on beside a monitor to get a menu. I'm getting, I right-clicked on the desktop background. I'm selecting display settings. Because the monitor that I'm looking at right now is my #1 monitor, and my #1 monitor set as my main display, it works fine. All right. So let's try a little experiment here. So let's get out of DAS. Let's close it down. don't need DAS Install Manager at this point. Let's right click, get into that menu again, my display settings, and change it to make my number 3 monitor my main display. Okay, so when I change my main display to the number 3 monitor, it appears on a different one. So I'm going to double click to start it. Starts where we expect, but notice what happens. It's not doing anything. It's frozen. And if we click on it, we get the dreaded not responding. And I pulled my hair out trying to figure out what was the problem. The only way you can get out of this is to close the program. And I don't need to send a report to Microsoft. To fix it, solution is simple. Make the window that it's opening in your main display. Number 1 menu, number 1 screen. Make this my main display. Things flashy, flashy. Close it. Restart DAS. Logs in like I expect. Everything looks happy, and we're back to exactly where we expect to be. It drove me crazy trying to figure out what this was the problem. It makes no rhyme or reason. And originally, when I first started with my desktop configuration, I remember that this monitor that we're looking at here is a number 3 monitor, sorry, number 1 monitor, and the one to my left is the number 3 monitor, and the one to my right is my number 2 monitor. Well, for whatever reason, originally it was basically 1, 2, 3. It was left 1, middle 2, and right number 3. So when DAS first starts, it loads into the number 1 monitor. So it wasn't loading on the screen that I wanted, but I had no way of moving it to the monitor that I wanted. So what I ended up having to do was make the number 1 monitor, in other words, my left monitor, the main menu, move the program. Once it loaded like this, I mean, it's easy. You can minimize it or make it smaller, right? And then drag it into whatever screen you want. So minimize it and then maximize it again. And the next time it loads, it's smart enough to know that it needs to stay in that monitor. But figuring out why, it's just, it loads into your number 1 monitor. That's all there is to it. But it won't run unless it's your main monitor. So after I moved DAS Studios back to the monitor that I wanted, in that case the number 2 monitor, I then had to go back in and tell it that the number 2 monitor was now the main menu, or the main monitor, the primary display. Otherwise it still wouldn't run. I hope this helps clear up a problem for a lot of people. I know, like I said, I loaded DAS maybe 4 or 5 times. I read through all of the forums. I ensured my video card was correct. At one point my video card wasn't. I actually have 2 video cards. It's the motherboard video card and NVIDIA card that is plugged into the 3 monitors. And it was just a fluke that the 1 monitor that it was loading in was the non-NVIDIA monitor. So I figured for sure that's the problem. Wasn't the problem. The problem was it was the number 1 monitor and it wasn't my main monitor. Hope that solves the problem for everybody. Like I say, it was a head scratcher. Anyway, thanks for watching, and let me know if you have any other problems. Bye now.